Hello and good evening. This is News 360. We're broadcasting live from our studios here at Adesanwe in Accra, specifically the News Hub. My name is Solis Rose Corte.
My name is Alfred Okanse. Coming up in the bulletin tonight.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Minister for Aviation Cecilia Dapaah issues stern warning to management of British Airways over bed-bug infested planes.
Director of Legal Division at the NCA, Abena Asafo-Adjei, has told an Accra High Court money withdrawn from the account used in purchasing cybersecurity equipment did not have the approval of the board.
Also, Employment and Labour Relations Ministry considering confiscating or demolishing unauthorized structures on its lands at Bachuna off the Spintex Road here in Accra.
In business tonight, ExxonMobil signs agreement with government to acquire petroleum exploration and production rights.
And on the international front, bring you details from South Africa city of Cape Town to slash residents' water allowance to 50 litres a day from next month amid fears that it could become the world's first major city to run out of water.
Well, details of all these and more, including sports and entertainment, coming up in the next 60 minutes.
Definitely can join us with your views, your thoughts, your opinions go on in the bulletin here on News 360. To our first story this evening, Minister for Aviation Cecilia Dapaah has asked management of the British Airways to treat Ghanaians with respect. The minister expressed strong reservations over the reported case of bedbugs on an Accra-bound British Airways flight and cautioned no businesses and entities would be allowed to take Ghanaians for granted.
The Sun newspaper on Sunday, January 14, reported that a British Airways flight to Ghana was grounded at London's Heathrow Airport for 4 hours after bedbugs were found crawling on the seats. The cabin crew had walked out minutes before the scheduled takeoff when they discovered the bedbug infestation. The passengers were able to continue their journey some 4 hours later after a replacement plane was arranged. Management of the airline in a statement later confirmed the incident. The spokesperson, however, insisted the comfort of their customers is paramount, hence the immediate swapping of the aircraft. But Ghana's aviation minister, Cecilia Dapaah, would not take any of that.
It's very disheartening that British Airways, that has had a clear, I would say, monopoly of direct flights to London, should treat Ghanaians this way. It's unacceptable. We demand serious explanations, and we need to have your assurance or reassurance that this incident will never ever occur.
The sector minister also cautioned those who denigrate Africans.
The general treatment of our passengers, things that cannot happen in London or UK should not happen here. We demand respect and good treatment for every Ghanaian that travels on British Airways. I think we have given you room to operate freely in a democratic setting. We should have no problems with it.
This is the latest in a string of bedbug infestation incidents to hit British Airways in recent months. In October last year, a Canadian family complained of multiple bedbug bites after a 9-hour flight from British Columbia to Britain. The airline later apologized and gave the family an upgrade for their return trip. Towards the end of December, British news portal Daily Mail reported that a man was covered in dozens of bedbug bites after taking a flight in British Airways business class. The airline has also received flack for poor customer service and cutting perks such as free in-flight meals and alcohol for domestic and short-haul trips in economy class.
The Director of Legal Division at the NCA, Abena Asafo-Adjei, has told an Accra High Court the money withdrawn from its account used in purchasing cybersecurity equipment did not have the approval of the board. Now, she maintained that minutes of board meetings during the period in 2015 till date do not show any request and approval was brought before members of the board.
The Director of Legal Division at the NCA, Abena Safwejay, had earlier told the court on Tuesday, January 16, she had no knowledge of the supposed contract signed between the authority and Infralox Development Limited, adding the only request for external support was on a 2.2 million cedis for the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Abena Safwejay was testifying in the case where the former board chair Eugene Bafuboni and 4 others are facing trial for allegedly fraudulently withdrawing 4 million cedis from the account of the NCA. Director of Legal Division of the NCA brought her testimony in chief to a close and was then cross-examined by Thadu Sori, who is lawyer for the former NCA board chairman Eugene Bafuboni. Abena Safwejay, who served as secretary to the previous board of the NCA before the board chaired by Eugene Bafuboni, was asked to proceed on her accumulated 8-month leave in 2015 upon the induction of the new board. While answering questions by Thadu Sori on her reaction to the directive by the board to proceed on leave, she told the court she was upset, contradicting an earlier response that she was not perturbed by the decision and had no plans of revenge. The former Director General of the NCA, William Tevier, and 4 others have been arraigned for alleged fraud and causing financial loss to the state over the alleged fraudulent $6 million contract signed between the NCA and Infralox Development Limited (IDL). The case has been adjourned to January 23 for the cross-examination to continue.
Still in court, the 5 suspects in the Bantama gang rape case have been remanded by a Kumasi Circuit Court after their lawyers failed to show up in court on Thursday. The suspects are to reappear in court on Wednesday, January 31.
Though the 5 suspects were brought before an open court, on Thursday the case was heard in camera. Lawyers for the suspects, however, failed to appear in court. The prosecutor, Chief Inspector Mercy Quay, prayed the court to adjourn the case to enable further investigations. Presiding Judge Her Honor Comfort Taziame granted the request and adjourned the case to January 31, 2018. On Wednesday, the suspects were discharged on earlier charges of conspiracy to defile and defilement, but were rearrested for trial in a circuit court. The case was struck out of the Asokwa Juvenile Court after the state's attorney told the court that one of the suspects is not a juvenile.
The pathologist who conducted the autopsy on the former MP J.B. Danquah Edu has confirmed receiving some pictures from the police hospital and the CID to conduct fresh investigations into the killing of the legislator. The report is expected to be submitted on the adjourned date after he told the court an earlier autopsy report was missing after his house was burgled. A report by Godfred Tanner.
The pathologist Dr. Lawrence Eduse confirmed receiving the pictures from the 2 institutions when he appeared before the Accra District Central Court on Thursday, January 18. He gave the assurance the report will be worked on and submitted to the court. The magistrate Eritin Simon urged the pathologist to do a thorough work and submit it to the court even if he finishes before the scheduled date. Dr. Eduse was hopeful the report will be ready by February 8, the adjourned date. The prosecutor DSP Amega was not certain whether investigations conducted will be ready on the February 8, telling the court the docket was still with the Attorney General. The pathologist Dr. Lawrence Eduse, who conducted the autopsy on the former legislator, at the last sitting revealed to the court his house was burgled in September 2017 and a computer which contained the autopsy report and other reports was stolen. Daniel Isiedu and Vincent Boso are currently before the district court awaiting the commencement of committal proceedings which will facilitate their trial at the High Court. The 2 are before the court accused of murdering the former legislator J.B. Danquah Edu. Lawyer Obribwai, who is holding brief for the family of the late MP, said he is hopeful the case will proceed.
Unlike the previous encounters where we were all at a loss, the information he delivered to the court today, it seems to me that by 8th, all things being equal, the report will be ready.
Well, the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations says it is considering whether to confiscate or demolish unauthorized buildings on its lands at Bachona off the Spintex Road here in Accra. The move, according to the Sector Minister Ignatius Bafwewa, is to allow space for the relocation of the management of the Development Institute, that's MDPI.
The lands were procured by the Management Development Productivity Institute, MDPI, more than 50 years ago. They were not developed until some squatters encroached on it after they were issued permits by the Lands Commission. Currently, the MDPI, which is under the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, is seeking to relocate to the area to allow the construction of the Marine Drive. The Minister of Employment and Labor Relations then constituted a committee to engage the squatters. After 9 months of deliberations, the committee has presented its report and recommended that the ministry should enforce the Public Lands Law of 1974. In the law, buildings of encroachers on government lands must be demolished or confiscated. Again, the law debars anybody from interfering in any demolition exercise. Chairman of the committee, Rodolphe Kuze, said a 21-day notice should be served squatters.
Government also has the right to abate any nuisance or terminate any interferences caused by the trespassers. Government also has the right to confiscate, demolish, or remove any structure or obstacle on the land.
Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, Ignatius Bafwewa, said he would issue a white paper on the recommendations.
Dialogue with the residents, get to know which of the various options you have proposed will best suit them and at the same time also best suit us. So that at the end of the day, we will have a very peaceful resolution of this problem that has been on our hands for some time now.
Ghana and Japan have pledged to strengthen relations to improve trade and investment. President Akufo-Addo was interacting with the Japanese ambassador to Ghana at the Flagstaff House.
Ambassador Chitomo Himeno, a career diplomat, was at the presidency to present his letters of credence. He pledged to work to improve relations between the two countries and contribute to international peace and security.
One of the issues that we are both committed in is to contribute to international peace and security. And for that, as I recall, Your Excellency, you delivered in your speech at the United Nations General Assembly, UN reform, particularly the Security Council reform, is crucial. And as I said in that speech, it is time that Africa holds that rightful place on the world stage. And Japan holds in you the same spirit. And that is one of the things we are looking forward to.
President Akufo-Addo said Ghana is looking forward to growing relations under his tenure.
We have found Japan to be one of the most faithful allies and partners of our country. Through the difficulties, good days and bad days, Japan has been there to providing us with assistance and working together with us for the development of our country. We're very inspired by the model of Japanese development, the self-reliance and the determination to build a society and an economy very much on your own basis. It is a model that we in Ghana are inspired by, and it helps enhance the relationship between our two countries.
Also at the presidency to present his letters of credence was the Nigerian ambassador to Ghana, Aluseni Osmanu. The two pledged to work together to promote relations between their countries.
Let's get into education now. And the Minister of Education says he was restrained after considering cancelling this year's Best Teacher Awards because he had failed to produce teachers for the International Teachers Awards. Now, the sector minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, was speaking at an event to acknowledge the contributions of a renowned mathematician, Sitofe Anku.
Professor Sitofe Anku has been nominated for the Vaki Foundation Prize, which awards maths teachers. He's the first Ghanaian among 50 others shortlisted for the award this year. The winner will be presented with $1 million prize money at an event to be held in Dubai in 2 months' time.
New Zealand entered to 2018 first before Ghana. What's Nigeria 1 hour ahead of us? Why? Do you understand those things? We can do that from here. Your own creation. We've done so many of such things. So there's no need for you to go and buy already made teaching and learning materials. You can create them for the local environment. You can create them. And the creation itself is a learning process.
Recognizing his work, Minister of Education Dr. Matupoko Prempeh said he was considering scrapping this year's Best Teacher Awards because it has failed to produce teachers for the Vaki Awards. The Best Teacher Awards, which was instituted more than 20 years ago, cannot boast of a teacher competing for that award. But the sector minister said he was restrained by his chief directors at the ministry.
I thought it wasn't serving us right. He said, Minister, if we don't do it, the teacher union will come at you. I said, to do something, do it as badly as we are doing it. They let them come at us this year. Next year, they would see. He said, Chief, let's just leave it. I said, no, Chief Director, it is so bad. Then we decided that, okay, I'll move the Best Teacher Award from my office. Maybe there are too many politicians hovering around it. That is why it's not working. So let's go and give it to the National Teaching Council.
Meanwhile, he has directed the curriculum division to promote the study of numeracy.
I've charged our curriculum developers that for early years in this country, it's high time we concentrate on literacy, numeracy, and science. If we get it right at that point, everything will be a bonus.
Other speakers at the event lauded the measurable contributions of the professor.
Let's do some more stories. And MP for Yape Kasau and former Energy Minister John Jinapor has scored the MPP government a pass mark in its management of the economy. Now, at a forum to assess the president's first year in office, he charged Nana Akufo-Addo's led government to brace up to tackle the real challenges facing Ghanaians, including unemployment.
Former Energy Minister John Jinapor entreated government to work on managing public expectation in 2018. He also urged government to pay attention to the energy sector to make it more viable and effective.
It's no more time to talk. Hitherto, government in the opposition then had made a lot of promises. They had promised to take away the energy sector levy. They had promised to reduce electricity tariffs drastically. They had promised to reduce petroleum prices when they come into office. Some of the power purchase agreements were signed. They criticized us heavily and indicated that when they came, they will review them and cancel them. 1 year down the lane, it is quite obvious that they are eating humble pie.
John Jinapor criticized the president for taking up the job of the Public Utility Commission by announcing tariff cuts for non-residential electricity users.
The job of the president is not to set tariff. He should allow the PRC to go through the process. If the president has any advice, if he has any issue, he should take that up with the PRC. He can invite them. But when I hear the president making those announcements and creating all those ambiguities, it creates a major problem.
On the Free Senior High School program, he proposed a national stakeholder conference to map out strategies to sustain the initiative. Head of Policy Unit at ASE, Paulina Anaman, called for the speedy passage of the Mineral Revenue Management Act to track revenue to the sector. Other speakers lauded government's management of the economy in the year under review.
Well, let's still stay with this particular CDD event, and the CDD has criticized the president for saying citizens who make corruption allegations against his appointees should bring it forward and be prepared to back it up with evidence. President Akufo-Addo made the comment during his media encounter on Wednesday. The president also said that he has great interest in ensuring that none of his appointees takes undue advantage of the opposition, that anyone else adding that he should try to produce the evidence to back the allegations and see what the responses will be. But the CDD is unimpressed with the president's posture relating to this particular subject. Its senior research fellow, Dr. Kojo Asante, is saying the move will rather deter whistleblowers from providing information vital to protecting the public purse. They believe that it should not be the duty of the citizen, and people can allege, but then it should be rather a trigger for an investigation by the appropriate authorities to then come to a conclusion that is our mandate as citizens, according to the CDD, to ensure that the public purse is protected. So if I come to you and allege that someone has done something, it is your job as the executive with the investigative body to go and investigate it. That's according to the CDD's director there speaking about it. That's coming from Dr. Kojo Asante, who's a senior research fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, Ghana. They're talking. But let's still stay on this particular position that has been stated by the CDD. Adam Serano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, and he joins me via Skype. Serano, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time this evening, if you can hear me. Hello, sir.
Good evening.
Great. Now, I'm sure you've heard the position by the CDD that, I mean, asking citizens to back allegations of corruption against government officials with facts or with some basis, it's not our duty to do so. If someone makes the allegation, the president can use that as a trigger to have the investigative bodies do so. Your position on this particular issue raised by the CDD?
Well, I believe that what Kojo was trying to put across was that it is better for the presidency to have a neutral stance on this, which allows citizens to raise issues where they are. And certainly the initial investigation would have to determine that there's reasonable grounds for which a full-scale investigation should then be initiated. So I think that, yes, the CDD is right in saying, look, we are at a point where you want many more people to be reporting things that are going wrong. Let's not begin to intimidate them or frighten them or make them feel that government will not take these reports seriously, such that once the information is out there that something has gone wrong, one can investigate and draw a conclusion as to whether there's reasonable grounds to go full scale into a corruption issue or a fraud issue or otherwise.
No, but so, I mean, that said, if this argument by Dr. Kojo Asante is anything to go by, how do we make sure that it doesn't then create a situation where people can just walk in, make allegations, and not really provide proof because it is not their duty to do so, and rather it should serve as a trigger for government to get into its investigations?
Well, not any form of allegation would be followed by an investigation. Now, the facts of what you have said is what would then trigger cross-checking, validation, other people being questioned, etc. You cannot make an allegation and expect that it will just be taken at this face value. So I think that the point is not so much whether several allegations will be made. We have institutions of state that are responsible to take up these allegations and do the initial, due diligence that tells us that, yes, this is serious or not. So I think that CDD is right that let's keep the door open for anyone to speak and allow institutions of state to then dig into it and identify whether they merit a full-scale investigation, etc., etc. I don't think that we should be worried about people raising issues. I think it is much better to, as it were, risk more allegations and check them than to say people should not speak at all.
Well, is that not going to create, I mean, a lot of work for these institutions to do? I mean, if we open the door,
I
yes,
doubt it. I very much
that
doubt
everybody
it,
can just make an allegation. And I think the president made that statement yesterday that even though he has made that point that, look, if you have allegations, bring it in. He risks having the situation where people can just walk in and make allegations. But
well, I think that fear is not very merited, because you see, already we have a situation where you don't have many people reporting anything. We don't have a situation where you have a lot of allegations being made. And mind you, when you make an allegation and it's investigated and it is found that your allegation was without merit, it goes against your person. So the rules of making allegations are the kind of thing that ought to be put in the public space, that, look, once you make an allegation, you'll be held accountable for it. And if you make allegations that don't have any veracity or any backing, then you're someone who is going to be, at the end of the day, be ostracized by society.
I see. Now,
so I think that this.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Anu, I was just going to bring you to the point. I'm sure you did hear the president's statement on the ongoing parliamentary probe on the allegations of cash for seats, which is still ongoing. Now, there are many who have made the point that the president's statement about the ongoing probe was unnecessary and really sought to rather much more prejudicial and to stampede the whole process. Find out your thoughts about this from where you sit as an anti-corruption crusader.
I agree with them, and I wish our president would keep himself away from such controversial statements.
Hello, Gonzalo. Hello. Yeah, I was losing you just a bit. Sorry. Unfortunately, the connection is not too clear. But that's Adam Senano. He is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, making the point there live on Skype.
News 360 Skype interview is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go.
All right, you're still watching News 360. Don't forget, you can always get interactive with us via our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter. Some more stories. A senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, is calling for full participation of the youth in the country in terms of the formulation of the National Youth Policy. Now, Professor Jampo explained owners of the policy by the youth is key in securing a bright future for the country.
Professor Ransford Jampo was amongst 4 panelists engaged in a dialogue on specific issues of major concern to the youth that should be captured in the National Youth Policy. According to him, the structures that formulate youth policies are different from those that handle national development policies, a situation which he says is hampering youth development in Ghana. He suggests the youth be made to take active part in the formulation of policies.
How many of you want to have a job that will last for 2 years and afterwards nobody cares for you? If young people had been consulted, they would have told them that we want a job that will work till we retire. But because they were not consulted, and so participation is very weak. When you consult, those who are consulted must be able to make meaningful input into, if there's a document, or into the process of decision making.
In 2001, during the NPP era, government abandoned the 1999 National Youth Policy and took 2 terms in office to formulate the 2008 National Youth Policy. The NDC government as well abandoned the 2008 Youth Policy formulated by its predecessor and introduced a new one in 2010. The Youth Policy Dialogue, organized by Youth Empowerment Synergy, is aimed at deepening multi-stakeholder engagement in Ghana's youth policy, with the anticipation that the final version of the reviewed national policy in 2018 will reflect some of the insight shared during the dialogue.
We're bringing in a more multifaceted approach where we're roping in all the thematic areas into one, so that young people are seen more as being mainstreamed into the development process rather than just being left alone, or people who are at the outskirts or the peripheries of the development process.
Participants were advised to make good use of opportunities given them.
Well, still watching News 360. We'll be right back with more after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to News 360. Now time for some business news. ExxonMobil has signed a petroleum agreement with the government of Ghana to acquire exploration and production rights for the Deepwater Cape 3 Points block. The agreement is subject to parliamentary approval.
ExxonMobil's investment in the oil sector becomes the first major one in Ghana, following the landmark ruling by ITLOS in the maritime border dispute between Ghana and Ivory Coast in September last year. The exploration activities include acquisition of seismic data and analysis, and is expected to commence later in 2018. in the deepwater Cape 3 Points block, located 92 kilometers off the coast of Ghana. ExxonMobil will carry out the work program as an operator and will hold 80% interest, and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation will hold 15% interest. ExxonMobil is expected to work with government to identify a Ghanaian company to potentially hold up to 5% interest.
Here in the countries we produce, over 90% are nationals. We're very involved in working with the local communities and developing the talent that's here, and we look forward to that opportunity in this ultra-deep water.
The Minister of Energy said the move will increase government revenue from the sector to propel economic growth and transformation.
It costs roughly $150 million to drill one well. And when you drill the well, there's no guarantee that there will be oil. On average, you're looking at drilling 19 wells to begin production. So you need a company that has the financial muscle to get it done. We are in a hurry, and we want companies that can get the work going.
ExxonMobil joins other operators in Ghana's petroleum upstream sector, including Tullow, Cosmos, and ENI.
Now let's still stay on this particular subject, because President Akufo-Addo has urged officials of ExxonMobil to bring its expertise and best practices to bear in Ghana to help develop the country's energy sector. Executives of the International Oil Company called on the President Akufo-Addo at the Flagstaff House after signing the agreement with government to explore oil in Ghana's territorial waters.
ExxonMobil is the largest listed oil company with technical competence, expertise and financial strength in oil exploration across the world. It signed a memorandum of understanding with Ghana in 2015 to assess its deep waters in the Tano Basin. Officials of both parties completed the agreement processes by signing the contract to complete all the oil exploration agreements between Ghana and ExxonMobil. Minister Boakye Ejako was confident the country will benefit immensely from the exploration.
This day has been a good day in the sense that we have brought into our oil space a company with the strength, the reputation and competence. And that nameplate, ExxonMobil, in our oil and gas exploration space will indeed give us a lot of credit in the industry.
Pamela Darwin is the Vice President of ExxonMobil Africa.
We are excited to bring our technology, and as you said, we have a unique place on that, and we are looking forward to working here, to opening an office here, to working with you to hopefully find and have success in this ultra-deep water.
President Akufo-Addo pledged government's commitment to working with the company and urged them to help improve Ghana's energy sector.
You're one of the leading lights for all kinds of good reasons: financial strength, technological capability, and the attitude and standards which are associated with your name. We're expecting those standards to be brought here to enhance the development of the Ghanaian energy sector, looking for companies with best practices to come here and also participate in the development of our energy sector, especially enhancing the Ghanaian participation in the energy sector.
Right, let's do some other stories. And some contractors working on projects for the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund, have disputed the claims by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that government has paid more than half of the 1.6 billion cedis owed contractors in the country. Speaking on Midday Live, head of the GET Fund Contractors Association, Daniel Tano, said, contrary to what the president told the media, many of the claims that had been submitted for payment had not been honored. Here are some excerpts.
Few monies were paid to the contractors, some of the contractors, but large number are still unpaid.
What are you doing to make sure that your monies are being paid?
We have given a notice to the administrator to at least meet him in his office and find out why we are still not paid, and then if it would, the next action would depend on what the administrator will tell us from there.
The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC Ghana, says Energy Minister Boakye Ejaku should resign or be sacked for not having any solution to stabilize prices of fuel at the local pumps. Fuel prices across some pumps have seen an average adjustment of around 4% since January 4, with some pumps currently trading above 4.670 cedis per litre.
Fuel prices that used to trade at 4 cedis 49 pesos per litre for both petrol and diesel have seen an increase to above 4 cedis 67 pesos, a difference of about 18 pesos, reflecting in some 4% increase. Price per gallon per the new increases is now 21 cedis from the previous 20 cedis 20 pesos for both petrol and diesel.
The bigger OMCs are themselves also coming out with their own prices the same month. What we have said all along is this: fuel prices cannot continue to be allowed to go up every now and then as it is going. If we do not begin to look at the special petroleum tax component particularly, fuel prices, I'm sorry, will continue to go up in this country.
GPRTU plans to increase transport fares. The outlook for 2018 gives no indication of global prices dropping anywhere below the $40 per barrel mark to bring pump prices down automatically. Executive Secretary COPEC, Duncan Amoah, noted some of the many taxes, particularly the special petroleum tax, should have been reviewed long ago to ease down prices at the point. He suggested some options for the government, including government introducing the dual pricing mechanism, whereby if government gets more revenue from petroleum exports, will use some to cushion petroleum consumers.
To reposition the special petroleum tax from the current ex-depot position to maybe ex-refinery. That will reduce the weight of the taxes on SPT. You could also set SPT to a specific amount, 40 pesos. That way, when international market prices go up, SPT doesn't begin to rise. And then again, you could also ease down on SPT completely. From 15%, if you came to 10 or even 7 or 5, I'm sure the impact will be quite manageable on Ghanaians.
Well, that wraps up business news here tonight. Thierry Nyan is standing by with some sports news updates when we come back. Welcome back to News 360. Now let's find out what's happening on the international front.
The South African city of Cape Town will slash residents' water allowance to 50 litres a day from next month amid fears that it could become the world's first major city to run out of water. The city had reached a point of no return, Mayor Patricia de Lille said. Cape Town, a popular tourist destination, has been hit by its worst drought in a century. Ms. de Lille warned that the city risks reaching day zero on 21st April when taps in homes could run dry. We can no longer ask people to stop wasting water. We must force them, she said at a press conference. Despite our urging for months, 60% of Cape Townians are callously using more than 87 litres per day, she added, referring to the current daily limit. 5 people have been killed in storm-related accident as hurricane-strength winds tear across northern Europe. 3 people died after being hit by falling trees and debris in the Netherlands and 1 in Germany. A second German was killed in a collision when his van was blown onto the wrong side of the road. Facing gusts of up to 140 km per hour or 90 miles per hour, Germany's train operator Deutsche Bahn cancelled all long-distance services for the rest of Thursday. Many regional services were also cancelled. Flights at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, one of the busiest in Europe, were briefly suspended, and 2 of its 3 departure halls were closed after roof plates were blown off the terminal building. More than 300 flights were cancelled, and the airport said passengers should check their flight status online or contact their airline. People arriving at Schiphol told reporters they had experienced rough landings with some passengers around them throwing up.
Bring you a lot more development on that particular story there, so let's now go for some entertainment news.
Entertainment news is brought to you by
In entertainment tonight, make sure you are accepted in your home region before you try venturing into the Accra market. These were the words of advice from 2016 VGMA New Artist of the Year, Fancy Gadam, to all up-and-coming artists from outside Accra who hope to break through. That's the total cheat, man.
He was filling out arenas even before he became recognized as a force in the music industry, which is biased to Accra-based artists, mainly because of the language barrier. Fancy Gadam sings in his native Dagbani and sometimes Hausa.
After winning the New Artist of the Year, my management said we have to get somebody here that can also give us attention, you understand? So that was the reason why we featured Sarkodie on Total Cheat. And you know, I speak in the local dialect and I've added some English in it so that Sarkodie could add tree, so that people who don't understand my language can also understand what the content means.
The Gadam Nation boss is ready to set the airwaves blazing with his new banger, Customer, which features Nigeria's Pato ranking.
Customer, you make her confused. Customer, Mambola perfume.
He maintains the song Customer does not in any way connote any derogatory remarks about women.
Your body in a special, rara, maintain commercial, or you agree one-on-one official. You understand? So you should
exclusive relationship.
She should maintain the commercial, or she will leave the commercial. Then you maintain one-on-one official. That's marriage. Yeah.
He also had this to say to up-and-coming artists from other parts of the country.
Ghana music is not all about Accra. No, you go feed your corner, then you do your things. Trust me, they go recognize you. I not begin my music career for Accra. No, I do it for the northern region. Make sure the 3 northern region accept Fancy Gadam before I move. Fancy Gadam be my pride. So you need to go feed me your pride, like the pride of your region.
He revealed that although he is eyeing the ultimate VGMA Artist of the Year award, it still remains anybody's game. Interesting video.
Absolutely, and you know, it's good that he has Pato ranking and the others collaborating with. But at the great point, be the best in your region.
Exactly.
I mean, one corner from Swedro, he from Northern region. Kena Yusuba came from there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, so also come from
Zimba and the likes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But well.
And Alfred from Accra, of course.
Yeah, you're right. Wait for that. But thank you. Thank you for staying with us here on News 360. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're grateful. My name is Alfred Akansi.
And I'm Solis Rose Corte. Enjoy the rest of your evening.